going on, guys? Bflattened here with a updated build video. This is going to be changing the gear a little bit, and the trees are also changed a little bit from our old Bulldoze Moze. Let's just get right into it. So we keep Cloud of Lead the same. We put 5 points into it and 2 from our class mod. This is going to make it so that Iron Bear shots will deal additional fire damage, and we need we need as much elements to come into our shots as possible. You'll see a lot of interaction with this a little bit later on. Bear, so whenever we jump out of our bear, we can jump into the turret, and the turret's going to be dealing a lot of damage. This is going to be used for big bosses like Psycho Reaver, like I showed in the last Atomic Moze video, or Bulldoze Moze video. And you can also use it with autobear. That's when you jump into your Bear. Autobear is in our blue tree here. We'll get into the autobear a little bit later on. So redistribution, whenever you score a crit, you regen ammo and HP. I don't really need this, but I do need to move down the tree, and there's 1 point that's needed for it. Redistribution is pretty good for 1 point for that. Stoke the Embers, you and Iron Bear do bonus fire damage. That's going to be comboing up with Cloud of Lead and everything along those lines. More fire damage. Scorching RPMs, you get increased hardpoint damage with your Iron Bear. You don't use Moze really with this build too much, so everything's focused really around Iron Bear. So you get increased hardpoint damage, and that's going to give you an additional 25% extra damage. And now Specialist Bear, we're going to be equipping 2 railguns, so we're going to be doing an additional 60% damage on our railguns. You can swap between fire, shock, and corrosion. Into our red tree is a little funky here. It's a little different. There's a lot of stills in here that I need just to move down the tree, so some of these stills aren't that good, but we need to get all the way down to Phalanx Doctrine, so let's get there. Security Bear, you get a bubble on your bear. Armored Infantry, you get damage reduction and extra gun damage whenever your shields are active. Your shields are always going to be active with Moze, so this is going to be a constant proc. Thin Red Line, a portion of your HP is reserved and it goes into your shield instead. We're also using a Deathless, so both of them do work together. Drowning in Brass, killed still. Whenever you kill an enemy, you get a stack of it. Your fire rate's reduced, but your gun damage is increased. This is also going to be working on your guns for Iron Bear. Full Can, whenever you enter your Iron Bear, you and your allies have your shields regenning, and your shield recharge rate is also increased. We're going to be having crazy shields when we get in and out of the bear. I don't have a lot of cooldown on the bear, so making sure that when I leave the bear and I have full shields, this is going to be essential for it. Experimental Munitions, whenever you score a crit, you do bonus fire damage. Behind the Iron Curtain, this is one of those stills where we don't really need too much. Your shield recharge is delayed and you have a shield recharge rate increased. I needed 1 point to move down, so I grabbed that one. Desperate Measures, you and Iron Bear's weapon damage are increased with how low your HP is. We have a Deathless on, so that's 1 HP, and our gun damage goes up to 50% because of that. And the most OP still in the red tree is probably Phalanx Doctrine. Whenever you get a kill, you get a stack of it. For every stack, you get maximum shield and gun damage. Each stack lasts 30 seconds, and there's no stack limit. So if we're using our shock railguns and we're going to be chaining around enemies a lot, all those kills are going to be stacking into Phalanx Doctrine, giving us more damage, more shields, and each stack lasts 30 seconds with no stack limit. This skill is nuts. Into our blue tree. I don't go too far into the blue tree here, but we do have Fire in the Sky exempt for splash damage for fire damage. Deadlines, this is super important in this still, because whenever your Iron Bear gets a kill, you get increased fuel. So the more shots that you're spending and the more kills that you're getting with it, the more fuel that's coming back to you, and the more fuel that you have, the more damage we're going to be doing, and the more that our bear is going to be persisting. All splash damage dealt by Moze has a chance to double, and you and Iron Bear do it additional splash damage. Stainless Steel Bear, we get increased armor, max fuel, and damage. This is just really essential with our build, and we get 3 points with this with our class mod. Auto Bear, we were talking a little bit about this earlier. Whenever we leave our bear or our bear expires, we can jump into the turret with Bear, and the bear is going to be shooting out additional railguns. Now, if you don't have the 4 skill tree, put the last 3 points into Grizzled, because Grizzled will make it so that your Bear and Auto Bear if you get kills in there, you can get increased action skill cooldown time. Means you get into your bear in and out very, very quickly. I did, however, spend the last 3 points into the purple tree, into really big guns. Our Iron Bear is getting ourselves an additional 12% damage. I just moved it from Grizzled over into really big guns just for more damage, because why not? So that is our skill trees. Into our skills, they are remaining the same as last time. Our Trick Unforgiven. This thing is good with Bear because the crit damage passes over, and same with the URAD. They all pass over into Bear. So whenever we're sitting in our bear, we're doing increased crit damage and radiation damage. Really good for big bosses like Grave Ward or Psycho Reaver. Hellwalker with URAD just for up close and personal fights whenever we leave our bear. Flipper, of course, with URAD just because it's radiation and we have bonus radiation and it hits hard and it's nice to have. Major Kong, it's URAD Shock, it's good for bosses. You don't really need to have this, you can really sub this out with whatever you want. We're not really using our Moze too much. All of our stuff is going to be more into our Iron Bear. Okay, so we have the Plus Ultra. Now the Plus Ultra is going to be having its HP shield rolls, and it's going to be going into our bear. So we're going to be having over 4 million armor on our bear. And every time we exit Iron Bear, kills increase Iron Bear's cooldown rate by 30%, which is super important. So whenever we're jumping into our Bear, the rail guns that our auto bear is doing, and whatever kills we get in our Bear, is going to give us a 30% cooldown rate. And our flare from last time, our splash, our HP, our action skill damage, it's really, really good. Gain up to 100% while Iron Bear is active, decreasing as Iron Bear spends fuel, which means that the more that we have into deadlines, the more that we're getting back, which means more damage, more persisting, things like that. Snowdrift Deathless, bonus fire damage, bonus HP, bonus area of effect damage. The fire damage is going to be going into like 3 or 4 of our skills. The HP is going into our shield because it's a Deathless. And area of effect damage is going to be all of our radiation damage. And finally, here's the newest addition to the build as well, the Thermal Hot Spring. Now, we used to have an It's Piss grenade here for the same annoyant, so we got to spawn a free grenade while we were in our bear to debuff enemies. However, the Thermal Hot Spring is actually really busted. While Iron Bear is active, taking damage has a 20% chance to spawn a nade. Now, what happens is when you throw the nade, a healing circle comes out. And this healing circle, I believe, is still at the time of the recording of this video is still busted. Whenever you have this on, the healing is going to be permanent so long as you have yourself in the same instance of map, or if you're still going in the same map without save quitting. I believe that still is busted to this day. I don't think there's been a fix for it. However, this could expire at any time, so I don't know if it's going to be fixed really, really soon. So whenever we're in our bear and one of these nades gets thrown out, we can stand in there and get that buff permanently, which means that we don't need to have anything into vampire, as you probably noticed earlier, restoring your HP or restoring Iron Bear's HP. We're just going to have constant regen whenever we take damage. It's actually really busted. So into our mobbing is going to be pretty well the same as before. For those that didn't get to see it, the reason why we have buddy system up is because with shock railguns, actually here's one of our circles here, maybe we can just stand in here. Now the reason why buddy system is up, if you do Mayhem 10 still to this day, is because if you shoot the buddy system, it can still chain to the target that it is buddy systemed with. It's not going to be immune. So if I shoot buddy system, the shock damage will chain to the guy who he's protecting, and it'll probably one-shot him because this thing one-shots pretty much every single mob in the game. But if you do Mayhem 11, entirely disregard that last message. Your goal is hitting as many enemies as you can with the shock railguns. Switch out your railguns if you need to corrosion with the bombs if you're facing Wotan or Valkyries, for example, or switch to the fire if you're facing like a big boss like Grave Ward or Psycho Reaver even. These things will really, really help, but mobbing, shock is generally the way to go. if you're facing a enemy that is shock resistance, like a shock heavyweight, you're gonna have to leave your bear and peg him down with either Moze, or just get into your autobear and go for the crit radiation damage. Other than that, you are completely and utterly one-shotting every single trash mob you can look at. All you have to do is hit. You swing for probably 40-50 million plus at the very least, and your bear is... Oh, I took a lot of dot damage there. That's not good. That is one thing that you might want to consider, is if you need to switch to vampire, thermal hot spring, it doesn't seem as consistent as I would like it to be prior to the recording of this video. So if you want to put points into vampire, you're totally safe to switch out of really big guns from the purple tree. And this is also really helpful if you don't have purple tree. But I like DPS and damage, so I wanted to test and take it just to see if that 12% was going to be a big change. It seems to give me, from the last recording, probably about 10 million. On average, it's giving me about 10 million. I can just sit inside the thermal hot spring whenever I'm out of my bear, and I'll be fine. Recovery rate is actually pretty good. We got our bear back. Now, the thermal hot spring is one of the new nades. It is from Arms Race, and there are 3 different prefixes for it. There's a normal hot spring, which is the lowest healing radius. There is the soothing hot spring, which will give you about 50,000 on its damage card. And then there is the thermal hot spring, and the thermal hot spring is a hard one to get. The thermal hot spring takes, I believe statistically, it's about a 5% chance to drop. I don't know how accurate that is, because I've seen like 9 at this point. But yeah, it's apparently a really, really hard grenade to get. Bunch of easy clears here. So we've seen trash mobs. I think we gotta go do the infamous takeout Trunt here. So I'm gonna go meet you guys over at Trunt. I'll see you guys very shortly. Alrighty, and we're over at Trunt. Let's go ahead and fool around with him with our shock railguns. And he's dead in one shot. And he is dead in one shot. I thought he was going to at least take 2, but okay. Shock railguns OP. They hit super hard. Now, just for fun, before we wrap up, just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and shoot off corrosive railguns, because the corrosive railguns are going to be doing reduced damage to him. And they also plant a bomb, but I want to see if the bomb can actually do damage on him. So I'm going to switch to corrosive damage. It's going to plant a corrosive bomb. Now this thing absolutely wrecks Wotan's day. If you're farming for Valkyries or Wotan, for whichever reason. But I kind of want to see what it does to Mr. Tron over here. Yeah, it doesn't really do a lot. Whereas this one wrecks Wotan's day. Tron doesn't mind it. His HP gets absolutely wrecked because he doesn't have a lot of HP. His shields can take that, tank that all day. So yeah, generally, I would say that the shock railguns are probably your best friend. Fire depending on bosses, corrosive railguns depending on bosses. But as long as you have 2 railguns equipped, you're getting that 60% damage with Specialist Bear. I think this is gonna wrap it up here. So thank you all so much for watching. My name is Bflattened, and I'm signing on out of here. Take care all. Laters.